We might all have our hearts broken when we rush to theaters this December to see Avatar 2: The Way of Water on the big screen. By now, almost everyone has seen the newest trailer for the movie, which focuses heavily on the RDA's second attempt to invade Pandora and the struggle that Jake's family will face throughout the film. But one thing that stuck out to many fans in the trailer was Neytiri's pregnancy and the fact that she was pregnant at the beginning, but not toward the end of it. In this movie, there's a very strong chance that one of the bigger events that happens is Neytiri losing one of her kids, and quite possibly before they're even born. And if you look at some very tiny but powerful details sprinkled throughout the trailer, you'll notice that there's a lot of evidence to support such a dramatic claim. Neytiri's pregnancy was the main focal point in one of the trailer's opening scenes, as she was shown looking down at her pregnant stomach before looking back and drawing back her bow. And this isn't abnormal by any means. One of the first reported details about Avatar 2 was that Jake and Neytiri will have a family consisting of 5 children, 3 biological and 2 adopted. Of their biological children, the couple have 2 sons, Neytiri and Loak, and a daughter named Neytiri, but she goes by Tuck. Neytiri and Jake also brought another young Na'vi girl into their family named Kiri, and she's reportedly the same age as their eldest biological child. This is also the same character Sigourney Weaver will be playing in the upcoming sequel. Their last kid, on the other hand, is a bit different from the rest of their family. Spider is a human and was about 2 or 3 when Jake took him into their family because he was too young to make the trip off Pandora when the RDA left at the end of the first movie. Now, initially, most people figured that Neytiri's pregnancy shown in the trailer was one of their 3 biological children just earlier in the timeline. However, if you look closely at some of the very minor details creators left for us throughout the trailer, you'll see that this might not actually be true. Going back to the scene in the trailer where Neytiri was shown stalking her prey through the low-hanging leaves and branches before drawing her bow back, notice how intentionally the camera zoomed out, revealing that Neytiri was pregnant. And then notice how later in the trailer, when Neytiri was fighting the RDA, the camera did the same intentional zoom out on her full body, showing her not pregnant anymore. And again, this could very well mean that the scene of Neytiri hunting while pregnant was just a flashback. But if you couple it with a few other small details, it might point to something far more heartbreaking. Because if you notice, another main focal point of the trailer was the emotional state that Neytiri was in. It's pretty clear that in this movie, Neytiri is going to be struggling a lot with sadness, anger, and probably some grief. And for obvious reasons, like her entire home being destroyed. But if you take a step back and analyze the footage in its entirety, the trailer made it look like the RDA attack wasn't the only problem weighing on Neytiri. There's a moment near the end where Jake tells Neytiri, "I need you with me, and I need you to be strong."
I need you with me, and I need you to be strong.
The words alone don't really indicate much, but his body language towards her and the emphasis he put on the word strong almost obviously clues us in that Neytiri had been having a hard time even before the invasion, as if Jake had already seen her break down before. Another massive clue that supports this theory is the relationship between Neytiri and her human son, Spider. If you've kept up to date on the latest news releases for Avatar 2, you already know that Spider and Neytiri won't have the healthiest relationship in this upcoming sequel. According to a couple outside sources, Neytiri isn't going to be fond of her human son. The film's producer explained that Neytiri couldn't help but see Spider as one of the people who tried to destroy her home, meaning that even though he grew up among the Na'vi, Spider is still an outcast in her eyes. Jake might be the only close person to Spider for evident reasons, since Jake himself spent most of his life as a human. But this puts Spider in a poor position in terms of a clan and even familial hierarchy. Obviously, Jake and Neytiri are at the head of their family, and if you're going off age, technically Spider would be next in line because he's their eldest child. But the Na'vi don't rank hierarchy that way, and interestingly enough, they don't even necessarily rank based off of age, which becomes apparent when you look at Loak, Jake, and Neytiri's second son. Neytiri, their 14-year-old and oldest biological child, will most likely become the next leader of the Omaticaya clan when his parents decide to pass on the torch. And it turns out that Tuck, their youngest, is next in line solely based on her genetic makeup. Loak, their middle child, was the only one of Jake's children that ended up inheriting his father's avatar qualities. The avatars that were created for humans had eyebrows and 5 fingers, while pure Na'vi only have 4 fingers on each hand and no eyebrows at all. And Loak was the only member of his family born with these human traits. This puts him on the outside with most of his clan members and at the bottom of his bloodline, right next to Spider, who is purely human and completely last in line. Jake's decision to take Spider into their family family was ultimately what saved his life, but that didn't mean Neytiri was going to like him. And as previously mentioned, it's been confirmed that Neytiri harbors resentment towards Spider just for being human and reminding her of the people who destroyed her home and killed her father. But if you buy into this theory thus far, this could actually explain the bigger picture of the overall story plot and quite possibly the main source of Neytiri's strong emotions toward Spider. It actually perfectly sets up another theory that Spider might be the possible cause of her losing one of her kids. If Spider was somehow connected to Neytiri losing her child, the one that she was pregnant with at the beginning of the trailer, there's no way he would be accepted by her. In the trailer, we saw that the RDA was attempting another invasion of Pandora and ended up forcing Neytiri, Jake, and the rest of their clan away from their home and out toward the water. In this theory, though, their home isn't the only thing they lost at the hands of the RDA. Creators quite possibly put a pregnant Neytiri in a dangerous situation at the beginning of the film, most likely at the beginning and maybe even when the RDA performs their initial attack. And one thing that could heavily support their desire to create a rift between Neytiri and Spider is maybe even putting Spider in the same situation as Neytiri, or in a situation where he is the only one who can save her, and he flat out fails, causing her to lose her child and fuel her resentment and hate towards the humans with Spider in the crosshairs. There are multiple scenes throughout the trailer showing Neytiri in dangerous situations, any of which could support this idea, like the scene where she appears trapped in a sinking vessel and pretty terrified trying to get out. Creators could easily take the liberty and add a little more depth to the scene and have Neytiri be pregnant at this point. And for all we know, maybe Spider is the one who tries to save her. We do see him running off a platform into water with another Navi or Avatar, maybe his dad, in the teaser trailer. It's quite possible that they are on their way to save Neytiri. Maybe Spider makes a mistake or does something wrong that causes the rescue mission to fail. There are endless possibilities to the different routes directors could take. And if Neytiri's potential fourth pregnancy aligned with the point in time when the RDA decided to invade Pandora again, her losing the baby would be more than enough cause for her to resent her human son. She's already lost her father and countless members of her clan to the humans. So if on their second invasion the humans caused her to lose one of her kids, that could be the exact fuel to spark her emotional unraveling, the one that Jake subtly hinted at later in the trailer. And whether or not Spider was the direct or indirect cause in this tragedy, him simply being human would be the perfect outlet for Neytiri's emotional pain. She may even subconsciously blame him even if he wasn't the actual cause of the tragedy. Because notice how she isn't necessarily angry at Jake, even though he was once human, and she knows this. Something in the movie has to serve as a catalyst for this massive rift between the two. Whether Spider ends up being responsible for the death of Neytiri's child, or if she even loses a child in the first place, it'll be interesting to see where creators take all of these details in Avatar 2. What do you think, though? Was it just a flashback, or do you think something tragic is going to befall Jake and Neytiri's unborn child? Let us know in the comments below.